Walking into the Light: The Steps That Changed My Life Forever. Written and illustrated by Lucas Verhelst. Edited by Susie Maloney. Introduction. One person every 20 seconds loses a limb. One person every 6 seconds dies due to diabetes-related complications. By the time you finish listening to this, 14 people will have lost lower limbs, and 46 will have died. I am a diabetic. I'd had regular health checks with full bloods and specialist support since my diagnosis. I'd followed the appropriate practice of low-carb, healthy fats diet with plenty of monitored daily exercise. My treatment consisted of 800 calories a day, which is half a normal diet, with no rice, no pasta, little fruit and no processed bread, but lots of dairy, vegetables and fish. It kept my sugars under control because I had no sugary carbs. But without the carbs I was tired, irritable, depressed and gaining weight, lots of weight. The few carbs I was eating weren't powering my muscles, they were layering on as fat, which didn't make sense to me. Since my diagnosis, I'd gained a lot of weight and reached 120 kilos. That's 264 pounds. I was getting bigger and bigger and my body was starving to death. Something was wrong here. I got sick and tired of always being sick and tired. I decided to use myself as a guinea pig. I had high blood pressure, depression, and poor self-esteem. With nothing to lose except a few limbs, my kidneys, or my eyesight, I began researching the biomechanics of what happens in the body of a diabetic and holistic treatments for diabetes. After a lot of research, I found the cause of what had been happening to me. The saturated fats from all the dairy and fish I was eating were blocking the insulin receptors in my cells. Insulin acts like a key that opens the cell doors to allow glucose in to be used as fuel for the cell. If the insulin can't get in, neither can the glucose. To stop my blood sugars from rising, which would lead to coma and death, my body was doing the only thing it could, converting them to fatty tissue. Hence the incredible weight gain I'd experienced. In a radical move, I removed all the saturated fats, animal products and fats, and then all the unsaturated fats in the form of processed oils from my diet. Within weeks my energy started to return. By going fat-free I had more energy, as the glucose was reaching my muscles, which let me exercise more, which meant I lost more weight, a massive 40 kilos, 88 pounds in total. My self-esteem improved and I developed a more positive, hopeful attitude to life. My weight dropped, but so did my glucose levels. I was experiencing more lows, hypoglycemic blood sugar levels, and I needed to find a long-term energy source that could keep me fueled and pumping throughout my days. When you look at vegan athletes, they're lean and full of energy. They do this by carb loading. They eat lots of whole foods like brown rice, whole grain breads and whole fruit. This gives them the energy to run a marathon, but they don't gain weight. I started doing the same, despite the fact that it went against the current theory of no or low-carb diets for juvenile diabetics. Legumes, fruit, whole foods and vegetable were giving me more energy than I had ever experienced before. I was doing intense weight training without the exhaustion I'd experienced on a low-carb diet. I could eat until I was full, and my sugars were stable. Stable sugars mean no complications, no blindness, amputations or kidney disease. No threat of complications meant no depression, and no depression meant more positive energy. I was on a roll. And I wasn't the only one. My whole food plant-based diet has introduced me to a global support network of people who have all arrived at the same destination, each by their own path. I went to a vegan restaurant and told the waiter I lived with diabetes and I needed to know exactly what was in each of the menu items so I could avoid oils. Normally restaurants would place me in the too hard basket and I would be fobbed off with a garden salad with no dressing. Not so in the vegan world. The chef was fascinated by my condition and that a whole food plant-based diet was helping to control it. He personally went through what was available and how he could modify it to be fat-free. The global vegan family proved just as supportive. Rather than seeing my whole food plant-based diabetic book as a threat, they have supported and encouraged my efforts. They have shared their stories with me and I with them. Diabetes is a poor man's disease because with access to the latest technology, like insulin pumps and continuous glucose monitors, diabetes becomes a paper tiger. Affordable treatment available to all is the solution. Currently, medical treatments and management are being dispensed based on financial ability rather than medical need. Combined with this, the social stigma closely associated with the disease, reinforcing myths that it is solely due to obesity, laziness, and poor life choices. Over $400 million is raised annually for diabetes education and research, which is amazing. But what about those already living with the condition, facing complications such as kidney disease, heart disease, blindness, and amputations? Something more is needed. The book I am writing is not just the story of my journey through life, but the stories of all those I have met along the way. I have been to the mountaintop and I have returned with a message. I have met children, parents, grandparents, all of whom have been affected by diabetes and all looking for a better way to overcome the disease. You can't defeat diabetes on your own. You need the help and support of a global village. This is why 100% of the profits from the book will be donated to the Massachusetts General Hospital Cure Diabetes Now Fund to support type 1 diabetes research. Dr. Dennis Faustman is the Director of Immunobiology Laboratory at MGH, an Associate Professor of Medicine at Harvard Medical School, and has spent more than 2 decades researching a cure for type 1 diabetes. Her type 1 diabetes research has earned her recognition, including the Oprah Achievement Award for Top Health Breakthrough by a Female Scientist, and a Woman in Science Award from AMWA WEAF for her contributions to autoimmune disease research. It is my hope that this book will both raise awareness of and funds to support vital medical research. I'm passionate about finding a cure because juvenile diabetes doesn't disappear just because you have grown into an adult. I have lived with type 1 diabetes for 30 years and it affects every aspect of my life, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no rest days. This story will give you an insight into what my life is like and why I wake every morning, inspired with the belief that this disease will be defeated.